Hello and welcome to the SmackDown review. I'm Michael Hamflett, joined by Michael Sidgwick to discuss everything that happened on Friday's edition of Da Blue Brand. But first, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, and why would it not be, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube for daily wrestling podcasts. We not only preview and review SmackDown, but also Monday Night Raw, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We also have wrestler interviews on occasion, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WhatCulture. Sidge, since goddamn Saturday morning, I've been excited to sit in the studio with you on this one. Again, you're kind of taking a vacay to SmackDown City right now. What did you make of this week's stay?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as...
Thank you for the reminder. Thanks for the reminder. I would have almost forgot that.
Yeah, I know.
People wouldn't have known that they were getting SmackDown because they wouldn't have given their invitation to the cinema. You wouldn't describe it as that, sorry.
No, because it's not cinema. First of all, the medium isn't correct. Second of all, the quality isn't anywhere near as good. However, there was some good booking, some good cooking on this show. It's weird. I'm not trying to pick at it, WWE's TV. I'm not trying to say, oh, well, it wasn't perfect or this is very pedantic. I mean, I probably do it, but I don't intend to do it.
Yeah.
I think it was so taken by the booking on this show that the one thing I was like, that's flawed. There is actually something flawed, but I don't know if it's worth talking about on this week's show. I was like, not the way I would have done it. And then I actually had a second thought. I collected myself and thought, you know what? That's actually perfect, the way this has gone. And they've done a great job of protecting every character and creating more narrative fuel for every character to burn through. The overlap between Raw, like this is how you do an umbrella program.
Yeah.
This is how, if you want to do a top level program that is essentially the reason that you tune in.
Yep.
If you don't like it or don't believe in it, you're not necessarily going to like anything else on the show. It's a WWE staple for years and years and years. In fact, it's their business model of if you don't like what's going on the top, tough titties. Yeah. Tough titties. You're not going to really like the rest of the show. AEW is currently at time of recording trying to try their hand at this big thematic thing that is changing the face of the organization. I would say on WWE's doing a better job.
Yeah.
WWE is doing a better job. You chat for a little bit.
Okay.
I'm looking for something. I should have prepared it.
That's all right. I'm glad you've given me this opportunity because I want to correct a bit of misinformation we put out on the SmackDown preview. I don't like to be thought of as just like any other grift circuit podcaster that gets the information wrong. You know, we built up a level of trust with our listenership, a relationship with our viewers. What are you cooking up over there, Sidgy?
Well, I don't know if it's going to read particularly well on camera, but how many viewers does SmackDown get usually?
I don't know. It was in the 2 million region, wasn't it? But I guess it's probably going to fall below that now. It's moved to USA ski. I don't know.
Should we say 1.5 million?
Yeah, I would say.
How about 1.5 million and one? There's my cat.
Oh yeah,
taking in the cinema. Didn't think you could take pets to the cinema, but apparently they've changed the rules.
Apparently, can't have this one. Cat's eating popcorn. Don't try that at home. Yeah, there was an attendance doing the rounds that led to us having a little discussion on business going a bit left. 8,500, I think, in for the 10,000 in the Barclays. They extended it on the day and ended up getting 11,500 in with only 400 tickets remaining. So there was even a walk-up that they could rely on. They got them an extra couple of thousand. And this was for, I should point out as well, it was for a double tape, and I've managed to avoid the spoilers, but I guess they were getting double bubble on SmackDown before they head over for Crown Jewel to Saudi Arabia. So it was live from the Barclays Centre. We've been in that venue before when it's hot. It's kind of class. It's steep and scary.
Steep and scary, but hot and thrilling.
Yes.
For
NXT, not Raw.
Yeah. I've told the story a million times. I was privileged enough through this job to go to TakeOver New York as part of WrestleMania 35 weekend. I was picked up from my house to go to the airport. at 4 a.m. So I got up at 3 a.m. to have the shower, make sure I had everything 5 times. I'm one of those people. Got to the airport, brewskis, just a 4 before the connecting flight from London.
Lager, vodka and Coke, lager.
Yeah. I had 4. I did have 5. I had 2 in the airport, probably 1 on the plane.
Newcastle Airport spear range is too good for a small airport. It's too good.
Too good. And then I had a couple in London on the old layover. Got on the plane and thought, right, you only had 5 hours sleep or whatever, and you've got a 11-hour flight and then a full evening of wrestling. And then after the wrestling, you're doing a list review.
Yeah.
Time to hit the old hay. Time to hit the old hay ski. Hit the hay, Sid. That hay. You hit it. I need to hit it. It's like, oh, God, I'm not going to go to sleep yet. Like, please go to sleep. Even like a 3-hour nap.
Yeah.
Or one of those, it's a unique sleep on a long haul flight where it's like you're in and out. The best is when, I always find it so much easier to sleep on the way back than the way there. Mm-hmm. Like, the best is when you just wake up. It's like, oh, Christ, we're here. I couldn't have gone any better. I didn't have a wink, not a wink. So I can't work it out, the time difference. I think I've been awake for over than 24 hours, like longer than 24 hours. And the first 5 minutes of Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, I fell asleep.
Okay.
In the steep seats.
Oh.
And I was like,
steep seats more like.
Yeah. And it's just as well, because if you go back and watch those opening exchanges, they date horribly.
Yeah.
They date horribly, and yet the overwhelming drama of the last 15 minutes is so, like, every near fall is measured to absolute perfection. Mm-hmm. They do about 5 when you think, how are they not taking the piss here? How is it this dramatic? How are they keep going? How can they keep going? So at about 20 minutes, when the crowd was so molten, I was like, it feels like I've just woke up with a nice cup of coffee here. Like, Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole roused me from the dead. So that's my experience of Barclays. I had MSG better. MSG 100 times better.
Raw on the Monday as well was the first time we'd heard an AEW chant in real life.
I wasn't there.
I
went earlier.
That was got the AEW chant when I think it was the Bar ran in on Seth Rollins versus Kofi Kingston. Different time, wasn't it? Different time. I tell you what else looked different in 2019. Randy Orton, because out he comes here as jacked as always. They do the tracking shot from the back, but he goes via gorilla on purpose because he wants to get in Triple H's face. We can't quite hear what the conversation is, but he did say last week he would take his sort of request for Kevin Owens right to the top. So we were kind of expecting this. He goes out to the ring and he just simply wants to know why he can't face Kevin Owens. The SmackDown GM, can't remember his name, said it was above his pay grade. I can't remember his name. So he's going straight to Triple H. Come on out here, boss, right now. Let's get to the bottom of this. He thinks that Triple H is protecting Kevin Owens. Now, I was a bit taken aback by this. I like to think I watch WWE in granular detail, not just for this job, but because I'm a fan, right, Sige? So I'm thinking, like, Randy, mate, what are you doing? Like, if there's one guy that you're not going to get in front of that camera, it's the game Triple H.
He hates it.
So I was thinking he's on a hiding.
It's not about him. It's not about him.
It's not. He's on a hiding to nothing.
Waste of time.
Waste of time. Except for this one time. He took a stand, rule-proven exception himself. Triple Paul Levesque H.
My hands are tied.
Oh, go on, fine. He drags in. He doesn't want to be it, but he comes out anyway. We even see how much he doesn't want to come out because there's a camera fixed over his head in gorilla position where we see him looking, bloody hell, he's frustrated to take his headphones off. You can see it, Sige. He is frustrated to be out there, but he's going to do it anyway. He even says...
He's got a bloody job to do, yeah?
Fine.
It's called running the show.
Says...
get credited for it. I'm the saviour. I'm the saviour of saviours.
If you think we're being...
No, if you think about it, no. Vince McMahon, terrible, awful, like one of the lowest of the low human beings, right? Scum, evil scum. Tony Khan, billionaire. So if there's a tier of great to reprehensible, definitionally as a billionaire, he's got to be below that average.
A million is rich, a billion is bad.
Yeah. And yet, definitely I would say lesser of evils. He's had his quirks, which is a really euphemistic way of saying sign Ric Flair, mate. As far as wrestling promoters go, which is another strata of evil, he's probably the soundest. So he was considered the savior of wrestling once upon a time as Tony Khan, but then guess what? Triple H, the King of Kings. makes WWE hot, and apparently, depressingly, that's all anybody ever wanted all the whole time. So if Tony Khan is just like that level of savior, and he's the savior of saviors, the king of kings, the cerebral assassin.
Put it in.
God, I can't wait to see him fail.
Put it in Latin and get it on that screen. Savior of saviors.
Get it in a little problematic iconography behind it as well.
He has been obsessed with for his iconography for his entire career.
Yeah.
Get it on there. Here he comes, one of the exec producers himself, and he says, look, he's not just the savior of saviors, he's the shooter of shooters. He says, we'd have had a conversation earlier on if he'd have got to the building on time. And Orton pops. So he sends some sort of inside joke that Triple H is just using his power to be able to bollock him for being late for work that day. But then he gets into the ring. And
maybe it's an old Ribski on what he was like in the past.
Possibly, yeah, because that does come into it here. Like the kind of...
I'll say it did create the sense of warmth between them. That they're not just, it's TV time. We are in conflict. It's like they've got a pre-existing relationship, a mutual enduring respect.
And of all the ones to lean in on, it's these two.
It's annoyingly good, this segment.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Like, so a match that you know is going to exist. It's that wrestling thing of like, right, how can we pretend like we're going to take it away from you, but to inflate your enthusiasm for it, and they kind of nailed it here. So Triple H says, no, we're not going to do it. And Orton was like, why are you protecting your boy Kevin Owens once again? And Triple H is trying not to say it, and he's trying not to say it, and Orton is like, is that what this is about? Are you just trying to protect him? And then Triple H, the big reveal, no, I'm trying to protect you, Randy. I'm trying to protect you. Huge gasp from God. Ooh, what do you mean by that? And Orton, Triple H basically says, Kevin Owens turns on his friends. We know this, but with Cody and with you, it's different. I can see it's different. Like he's referencing the promo that Kevin Owens cut last week, which we kind of massively put over the
performance. God, he's great. He's absolutely different gravy as Kevin Owens.
And when a performance like that is that good, it informs something like this. It says like Triple H has seen something in Kevin Owens that is going to do damage to a Randy Orton, and Orton can nary afford that kind of damage. He doesn't want him. He's his boss. He doesn't want him on the shelf again. Like Randy, he stops just short of calling him a fragile old man, but this is the way that you use an Orton in the twilight of his career. He says like, at this point, I can't have you going out for a long extended stay again, and I'm quite worried that Kevin Owens would do that to you. Orton ultimately kind of, resents the implication basically, and he says he didn't want to invite Paul Levesque out here. He wanted to invite the savior of saviors, the king of kings, the game, the man that would throw me through my own living room as part of a home invasion. Where's that guy? And Triple H kind of like looks inward into himself. He looks at the crowd. He said, you don't want what I'm about to do, Randy? And I was like, I think I do actually, Paul. That's what we're doing here. And Triple H relents and says, fine, you can have it, but be careful what you wish for. It's going to be Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at Crown Jewel. The match is made.
I will caveat this. God, I hate myself. My praise of this incredible segment featuring Paul Levesque.
Yeah.
Damn it. I said in the intro that I don't want to pick holes in things. I do with him.
Yeah, of course.
I do with him.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just do. Better to be honest. IMO. Right. I will caveat this by saying it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. The surroundings, the backdrop of that event in particular, this has to be like a really uncomfortable watch, this match. It has to be a really uncomfortable watch, and I really hope it is. I don't care if it's dull, which it probably will be. It's an Orton match on PLE with two people in it. That WrestleMania 40 match is one of my most underrated of the year. It was so much fun.
It was Owens, and they had
good
chemistry together.
I'll caveat by saying, provided it's a really harrowing or just attritional, violent, nasty, in some way just unpleasant match, right? If that match lives up to the way in which this was sold, and this could be a total masterstroke. You might recall, I'm going to try and go down the line here. If you like proper in the weeds, watch most things. If you watch both wrestling promotions,
that's right.
WWE,
all two of them.
It sort of feels like it's what it feels like. March 2020, before Lalgan's tits up, to quote Tony Storm. Cody comes out. To the Revolution. It's the first show after Revolution. Comes out and he says something to the effect of, I want to come out and shake MJF's hand. Only if you'll do that can I accept the victory, or something like that. He is interrupted and everyone's like, what? By Jake Roberts making his AEW debut.
Yeah.
And he does that incredible analogy to Caesar. He does that wonderful never turn your back on someone you respect or you're afraid of, turns around, microphone in his hands. It's like, that's the Jake Roberts giving us the manner, right? In that promo, right, he, probably in collaboration with Cody, talks about his new client as this mythical figure. When he comes in, you thought this torture campaign, this mental manipulation of MJF was bad. You thought losing your only shot at the AEW World title was bad. This person, my client, comes in, like, your career could be over. You don't know what you don't know what's coming. You do not know what's coming. That was very much something Dusty Rhodes would do in the 80s when he was booking Derek Dory to, like, do his big territory monster heel run. He would talk about them before they arrived. More effective than a vignette. It got more cinematic with the vignettes, like, later, like, of, you don't know the wind that's going to blow through this territory is like nothing before, and you could picture the monster before the monster arrived, and it just sort of informed the presentation because you had the fear and the trepidation inbuilt in this mystery before you even saw the person coming in. Paul Levesque managed that with someone who's been on the roster for like 10 years.
Yeah.
9-10 years.
Well, it's funny you mentioned 10 years, right? Because what I immediately thought of here, they should agent this match. Triple H should copy his own Golden Era homework. What happened when Kevin Owens had to wrestle a match like this before was when he defeated Sami Zayn, another friend who he believed had betrayed him when he betrayed them, by dominating him to such an extent that the referee had to call it. Yeah. And Kevin Owens was like, he was so brutal, the ref was like, please stop beating up your best friend. You're the champion now. And they could copy that beat for beat in a story that even technically kind of ties in Sami Zayn. That would be some quite lovely calling back, flashing forward stuff.
What move did Kevin Owens do to Sami Zayn in that match, or to build it?
The apron powerbomb.
What's been Randy Orton's big problem for 2 years?
Back and shoulder ski.
Yeah.
Stack of dimes and all that.
Yeah.
And now he's jacked to sort of protect himself from that. And Owens,
he's still, but like, you've got that thing of, it's like the Shawn Michaels, Matt Jackson thing, like backs. Everyone's like pulled a muscle in their back or like hurt their back, and it's like, it's so.
Yeah, I'm 39. I sneezed a few times.
Yeah, you can't do anything. You can't do anything. So it's got that relatable pain, and that's just another layer to this brilliant story that they're telling right now. The whole idea, though, the reason why I went round the houses, one, I don't know any different. I'm sorry, I can't be concise. Two, it was so powerful of like that great unknown, and then you stir the imagination, and you think. I think that I guessed Lance Archer because I'd read the reports, but it was either at the time Mr. Brody Lee or Lance Archer seemed perfect for that spot. But like, you think, God, they Robert's promo and the style and the way that you tease that mystery. They're coming in at like 6'5", they feel 9 foot, you know.
Yeah.
It's the mystery, it's the unknown. He's done it with someone who's been here for like ever.
That's it. This Kevin Owens, like the idea, even it puts over the motivations of the story as well, doesn't it? Like, it gets over that, like, to Kevin Owens, Cody being willing to side with Roman Reigns and Randy being willing to side with Cody are crimes punishable by near death now to Kevin Owens, which in itself kind of elevates everything else around the character as well, doesn't it? Because now you're then thinking, what if like Sami Zayn rejoins the Bloodline? What is Kevin Owens going to do with Sami Zayn for that? Like,
it's
the way it kind of covers off all the other. And Orton later on, he features in another thing that has another story attached to Randy Orton. It's this top line of SmackDown is feeling more than just a carry job by a couple of people all of a sudden.
This is the world. This is the world of a company, a brand, whatever. Like, people want to go into a world. They don't want to see a random assortment of matches and storylines. They want to, like, an interconnected world that you like to go and revisit every single week. If you can do nothing else. Paul Levesque has nailed that. I still don't necessarily like the presentation. And just the matches that just bore me, really. My God. I totally get why this is as hot as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go to the world all the time. And if you do too, great. Maybe the next match, this is where you go to the toilet, go and get yourself a bit of food, because it was Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade in what was billed as Game 7. You know, the sort of final match in this best of 7 series there. Winner, like, I don't think it was guaranteed, but it was as good as assured that you would get a title shot LA Knight, and he was going to be the guest referee to make sure that there was no funny business. And you're not going to believe, best laid plans, just how this turned out in the end. So they're having, for my money, the weakest of the entire series of matches so far. And I think part of that is because LA Knight is drawing their attention a little bit too often. He's wearing, for those that haven't watched, which isn't normally the case much with SmackDown, but he's wearing his referee shirt underneath his jacket and he's got the belt over the top. So he's kind of like, he's doing this a little bit under duress, and he's there to be the star. If you think of The Rock and Steve Austin as guest referees, you've got LA Knight.
Yeah.
Funny that.
Funny.
So as a result, it's not really about the match, which is why we're not really getting much of an artful piece of business with Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. And really the kind of inciting incident here is where, well, the first one I should say, is where Carmelo Hayes tries to use LA Knight in front of himself in order to stop Andrade getting to him. And at that point, LA Knight's a little bit rattled by being brought into the action. The two fight out to the floor. We come back from a break with Andrade managed to hit in his big sort of springboard Spanish fly that he does. But then, to be fair, this was pretty cool. Carmelo Hayes counters out with his own spinning face plant. Andrade gets a roll up. It's quite a tight roll up, and it involves Hayes doing quite a forceful kick out, and he pushes Andrade, who lands on LA Knight, who was trying to count the fall. Andrade sort of registers that, but then goes for the three amigos. The last one gets reversed into a suplex cutter, but LA Knight doesn't want to count. Instead, him and Carmelo Hayes fight to the floor. LA Knight gets back in amongst this. Both Carmelo Hayes and Andrade get BFTs, and LA Knight just decides to throw it all out and call himself the winner. So we don't get a finish, we don't get a winner to any of this.
I'll never have a triple threat match after this.
And
I hate it.
SmackDown GM is furious with LA Knight and therefore makes the triple threat at Crown Jewel. It's going to be for...
And now he's only got a 33 1/3 chance of winning.
The odds are against him. Why didn't he think that through? And obviously now, I guess Andrade and Carmelo Hayes both get a title shot here, but it's Triple H's WWE. There's probably going to be a seventh match again, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
We'll revisit that. But in the meantime...
I told you, didn't on the preview?
Yeah, well, this was...
It was telegraphed.
Week going in and week coming out, I thought this. Poor all
I think this whole thing's been an absolute waste of time, quite literally in the case of this best of 7. I will say that it would be very TNA. It seemed conspicuous that they'd never really officially advertised it as a best of 7 series, had they, from match 1?
No.
It was only
they've both had title matches along the way.
Yeah, and it's on this one's the best of 7 concludes. It's well, you never really... so that was a bit odd, but then it makes sense because if this is the plan all along. What an incredibly... what a terrible loop of storytelling.
Agree.
Terrible loop of storytelling, total filler, it's a total inverse to all the praise I lavished on that opening segment.
It's the inverse to all of WWE because the matches are half decent as well, and that's the least of anybody's concerns as long as the stories are hitting.
Yeah, it just feels like it's such contrived filler, corny. You could have had the balls to actually put this down on paper and say, "Oh God, we're going to get a nice 2.5, 3 months out of this." Out of what? It just feels like a total waste of time. They keep going back to it. I can't possibly imagine investing in this. One of my least favorite things in wrestling, one of my pet hates, is the heel doing something that they think will prevent a triple threat match from happening, when this seems to happen every single, on a quarterly basis, or at least a twice annual basis in WWE. There is a heel who will meddle and interfere and not possibly see that a general manager will make a triple threat match out of this. It's how long has this been going on? And the longer it goes on, the dumber it gets. And I have to say, this was so inelegant the way they did it in the match. I hate special guest referees. I was dead against AEW ever touching it, and then I realized, oh God, Mark Briscoe's probably the best one ever for me, other than Sean. I hate the trope. The idea of it in and of itself is definitionally terrible. Getting an amateur because the specialists have failed. It's so dumb to begin with. It is so dumb. If there is an artful way of doing something completely and utterly contrived and inherently stupid, there is a way for the referee to get their backs up in the middle of the match and start to get their mind off and go, you know what, I can't be impartial. I did actually try, but this is good action set piece. That means I've been kicked errantly or whatever, where it's I'm going to have to I don't want to do this, but you know what, I'm going to ruin the sanctity of this match on my own ends, At the merest provocation, LA Knight was I'm going to chin everyone, or
Because he's rooted in the feud. Let's not pretend he's not part of this feud as well. So it's like, again, it makes everybody look stupid. And LA Knight is a babyface initiating
I
this
was a dick on this.
threat.
And I know it's part of the...
But then
he's like a trash-talking guy.
And he has to be okay with the match. So if he's okay with the triple threat, which he has to be because he's a babyface, he can't like, oh no, I didn't want this. Then why go through the rigmarole? Why not just say from the beginning, I'll take them both.
I'll take them both. I'm Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, like that's again, that's what like the sort of underbelly of time wasting.
No, so it's all just a contrived, stupid waste of time that they call a division. I've hated the whole thing, and I really hated this. Like, it was just so inelegant the way that LA Knight was like the merest thing he could vaguely misinterpret as an attack on him. Like, oh, right, okay, well, it's time. It's just stupid.
Time to throw down.
Time to throw down.
That's kind of like pretty much the only lame bit on the show because from here on out it's pretty much go-goated because Tiffany Stratton, Sage, is back. She is she was ill last week, but she's back this week. But Nia Jax is negging her a little bit and saying, it's all right. Like, got Candice LeRae to take your place, and she was great actually. Like, you might want to kind of keep an eye on what she's doing tonight. She's got a match against Naomi, and Tiffany Stratton doesn't look too pleased that it's taken is a week and she's being replaced. And it does take us to Naomi versus Candice LeRae. It's Candice LeRae working as a heel, but Naomi kind of continually trying to like power out of all the advantages that Candice LeRae takes. And it ultimately gets to the point where Naomi spills to the floor and Indy Hartwell, obviously now with the two as heels, has no problem attacking Naomi on the outside. She pushes her into the post. Bayley isn't going to take any of this, so she comes out to sort of take out Indy Hartwell, which frees up Naomi to defeat Candice LeRae with the Bubba Bomb. They get the win. They're sort of celebrating the ring. Feels like the tag team match next week is inevitable, and I guess like this was like a low story week, but coming off the back of Nia Jax and Liv Morgan, which they've announced a face-to-face for Crown Jewel next week, this is kind of where we're going next post-Crown Jewel. Yeah. Get the annoying belt versus belt stuff out of the way, we can get back to actual stories that make sense.
Yes, okay. Wait there. So I watched this match on Sunday morning UK time. Saturday morning UK time. I want to say US wrestling has punished my body, and it's set within me an internal alarm clock that because I've been doing this, been riding these roads up and down, been riding up and down these roads for going on 8 years now. God, I'm a veteran of the business now. The dad man. I've been going up and down these roads. You know, I'm recording gangbusted podcasts every day, and at least a minimum of 3 mornings up at like 5, half 5. Yep. I don't complain. I just state the facts. So I'm getting up at like half.
Just laugh through rules.
Yeah, half 5 or half 6. So let's say 6:30ish a.m. latest.
Yeah,
I'll watch this match UK time Saturday morning. It is now 8 minutes away from 9 minutes away from the afternoon of Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember a thing about this.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, it's because almost nothing happened, basically. That's, like, the content of the match was, like, destroyed by a commercial break. Like, I think the whole thing went about 8 minutes, and we maybe saw 2.5 of it. They know what they're doing. Like, they know what they're doing.
With in 8 minutes, asshole. What you complaining about?
It's all about, obviously, that, which, again, they can't really deal with until they've done the Nia and Liv stuff, because it's stupid belt-for-belt stuff. But speaking of kind of goated belt-for-belt stuff, it's Cody Rhodes and Gunther's face-to-face next. Gunther comes out first, and then Cody's doing his
I love Gunther's face.
And he's, and then he just cuts off Cody before he gets through the, whoa! And we'll get back to that later. And then Gunther gets to say to Cody, I think I can do this with my face. What do you want to talk about? Which Cody sort of shoots him a wry smile. And Cody says, well, shouldn't that be obvious? That's what we're here for, face-to-face. It's a massive, great big title in the middle of them. But Gunther says, I'll tell you what I want to talk about. I said last week about your daughter, and I'm going to mention it again here. Oh, easy, big fella. Like, didn't need to come up, did it? That wasn't necessary, was it, Code Man? I find it very interesting that you're always seemingly doing something for somebody else rather than just for yourself. WrestleMania was about making Dusty proud of you, and now you're doing this for John Cena. You want to be John Cena, work the John Cena schedule, work the John Cena life, but like, let's take all that away. What do you want out of this? What do you want from this match we're doing right here between us? And you fight me. What's that for? And Cody says, look, no matter how good you look, how sharp you look in these suits, how great you're starting to smell, how smart you come across, that is the dumbest question I have ever heard. I do it for these people right here. I do it for all of them. And Gunther sort of sneers. He's not going to sneer at that. Like, none of this exists without any of them. And like this, what a test this was of how over somebody is. Like, you know what? Stop right there, actually. These people deserve their woe. Should we give them their woe? And he just does a shoot countdown. Whoa! People go nuts for it. And they're just... Got it. Hey, we nearly lost our woe. That big guy from Europe nearly took our woe away. Cody gave us the woe back. That's what they're talking about back in. That's probably what they all talked about back in New York. It was like genuinely
back on the old subways.
On the old subway ski, on the old 3 lane.
Hey, I'm woeing here. That's what they said when Gunther did it first. Like, hey, I'm woeing here.
100%. So like. Woe parity has been
100%.
That's definitely what went down in the crowd in the Barclays. Woe parity has been restored. And then Cody says, look, and it's not just about that reaction. It's about what that reaction means and what it's all about and what we do it for.
We can get me whoa. I guess he forgot about it.
This is how it played out. We're just telling you what happened on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Cody's like, you get those reactions when you show up, and I show up everywhere. Yeah, I want the John Cena schedule. Like, where were you yesterday?
He's invoking that a lot, isn't he?
Yeah. Ahead of somebody coming back for 50 dates next year. Huh?
50 dates.
50 dates with John.
51st dates, because it looks like he's going to be wrestling for the first time, because he's rubbish now.
That is good humour. 51st dates. We should do a bit on that.
Because he can't wrestle anymore.
Should we do a podcast out of that? 51st dates, like why John Cena's matches all look like they're his first one ever.
Yeah. He's like a Bambi on ice, isn't he?
I cannot wait, mate. I cannot wait.
Stinks. Hate him and his ways.
Well, let's get back to this because this was pretty goated. Cody was saying, like I was in Las Vegas promoting WrestleMania. You couldn't even bother getting out of bed. But Gunther, and this is why the business is in better health than it used to be, because when John Cena would say that, the heel was left with absolutely nothing, and they get FU'd and pinned, and that was their moment in the sun over with. Gunther just laughs that off. He says, Cody, mate, I get the exact same requests as you, but unlike you, I have the guts to turn them down because I'm all about me. You have to keep saying yes so you can be everybody's little servant. That's the only reason you finish your story. And now that it's over, you have to say yes. Otherwise, nobody's going to care about you now. You are a gutless champion, and that's why you're secondary to me. Cody says, like, gutless, you're the ring general, but I don't see you as a general, and nobody does, because you have command over nobody. You lead nobody but yourself. Guts. My entire career is defined on guts. Every step I took was about showing guts, including the one I'm going to show right now. Guts is taking the paths that I've taken and ending civil discussions by taking the first shot. And with that, he swings. Microphone's barely out of his hand. He swung for Gunther. The two of them fighting. Ludwig Kaiser comes in for sort of the 2-on-1 advantage. But then Randy Orton is back out here. He makes the save for the two of them. Ultimately, the babyfaces chase off the heels. And for the second week in a row, after a little scuffle, Randy Orton retrieves Cody's belt, has a little second with it, gives him back to him, and then later on in the show...
The old Tommaso eyes.
He'll give it a look-ski, which again, Orton, as we talked about at the top of the show, is involved in something completely separate from it, or is it, to do with Kevin Owens? And then later on... It's Grove Broken, and then later on the show, it's announced that we're going to get this tag match on next week's SmackDown. One of the all-time great turd polishers, this one, between these two. I love this.
It's great. All I want now is just Gunther's got the best face.
Yeah.
His words are great, the delivery's great, an absolute tenfold improvement across the board in terms of the sports entertainmentification of Gunther. Now he slots into that world, but not so neatly that he doesn't feel like he's above it all. Another really good job by Cody, like way less shoehorned. Was it last week or the week before?
Yeah, last week's didn't work.
Last week's didn't work. This one did. I think once the taste was out of people's mouths, maybe that helped a lot. But I think this sort of stands up for itself as a segment, as a verbal back and forth. But ultimately, it's just Gunther's. I've said it before. I think he's the best heel in wrestling right now. He doesn't have to say out. It's his face that I cannot believe people are talking to me as if I'm on anywhere, like, you know what I mean? There's that smug, like, MVP's got that exact face in a different way.
Yeah.
But he evokes that same feeling of, why are people even, like, talking to me? Why are people, like, doubting me? Or, like, why am I even entertaining these absolute ants below me?
Well, as he's saying, I'm not going to get out of bed to serve them.
Yeah.
You're the loser for doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you what amazed me here as well. we talked at the start of this year how it took like pretty much the second or third best, maybe the first best Seth Rollins promo ever to try and sell you
the one with Punk,
with Cody, that you should fight. And obviously,
I thought that stunk.
What we now know is going on in the background.
Yeah, I thought that stunk.
I thought that was like a sales pitch for the ages on this, and like nobody wants this, Seth. What are you doing? Like this world title thing, fight me instead. Like the content was fake, and obviously now we know why that was because of all the backstage stuff. But I thought Seth's delivery of that was like an honest, like one of his best ever days' work, because he's holding this toy belt that he's tried to legitimize, and now that's going to be put to the test because you're trying to take the Cody Roman match away from us, Seth. What are you doing? Like, I thought that was an acid test, and for me, he passed. Gunther didn't have to do anything other than be Gunther to make his belt feel bigger than Cody's.
Yeah.
Like, that's a testament to Gunther and how, like, his whole Intercontinental title deal was about making that belt the workhorse belt again. It's just, the workhorse belt is the one over the workhorse's shoulder. And that's the thing that Gunther portrays. Yeah. And I just thought it was so impressive here. It was like, this title should still be a toy belt. And yet I'm watching these two champions and I'm happy to buy him as on the same level as Cody. And everything Cody had to go through to get that title, Gunther's had not an easy run of it, but he's made it look simple.
Yeah.
And he is making Cody look insecure and like he doesn't belong on his level. And I just think that's the making of a star. That's how you show yourself to the people backstage that you want to go with.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of stars, we get a recap of last week's beatdown of Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso by the Bloodline, and then the Bloodline traveling to Raw to take the title off Jey Uso. And then we cut backstage briefly to find all three GMs. So that was Postman Pierce, the SmackDown GM, can't remember his name, and Ava. She hasn't got a surname. She's the Booker and Crooker of the Year and the general manager of NXT. And they've all agreed that a crown jewel, it will be Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Lash Legend Jakara Jackson and Damage Control in a fatal four-way. And I guess that wasn't well needed.
I drifted off, but we can move on.
All three bosses had to agree that all three of their rosters could engage. Main event time, Sidge, already. It was that kind of show. I was feeling that kind of way. Motor City Machine Guns versus DIY.
For bit by bit?
Yeah, we'll go. Yeah. Aye. For the number one contenders, tag team title tournament final. And we start off with Alex Shelley and Johnny Gargano, while Corey Graves explains, obviously, that not only were the MCMG such a huge influence on wrestlers such as the IY and all that came up in the era, Johnny Gargano and Alex Shelley specifically are good mates. They've kind of like built a bond over time. They talk about how there was a video that was uploaded of the Guns kind of meeting people backstage, and it was almost like they'd been here all along because they have so many friends that had kind of got to WWE before them, that kind of thing. So it's all quite nice handshakes and sort of like polite exchanges early on, which was pretty cool because Tommaso Ciampa had none of this sort of friendship with Alex Shelley. So he tags in, so does Chris Sabin, and they do the dream sequence on Tommaso Ciampa. So he's like really, hey, bastards, like after it had all been quite nice and friendly with Gargano. Gargano tags back in. He's able to actually get a bit of an advantage. Hits a basement dropkick, tags back into Tommaso Ciampa. But again, it's Ciampa getting caught out by the Guns, who do their own sort of apron double super kick, which like the commentators call out is kind of a version of meet in the middle. Yeah. Guns were doing it first, that sort of thing. But then Gargano is yet again the one to make the save. Hits kind of almost like a blind spear from like a slingshot position, and that takes DIY to the break as they're doing their like pat on the back applause sort of stuff. We come back from the commercials with Chris Sabin able to get the hot tag from a DIY beatdown. So he tags in Alex Shelley, and then it's just like loads more like fast flowing double teams. It's Johnny Gargano that's able to reclaim the advantage for DIY with a rolling kick on Chris Sabin. At this point, Ciampa gets back in. He gets a couple of 2 counts. DIY go for their meet in the middle, but that's broken up. And then Johnny Gargano inadvertently super kicks Tommaso Ciampa off the apron. He's then left prone for Skull and Bones, which means the Motor City Machine Guns win the match. They get the shot at the tag team titles. And should we park there?
Yep. Do I be snarky? Thank you, Revolution 2020, for the opening, for the basis for these opening exchanges.
Yes.
There you go. I thought this was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It won't remotely trouble tag team match of the year charts. It won't remotely trouble TV tag team match of the year charts. I didn't feel an awful lot for it. I didn't think it was bad. I feel like I'm going to say this every single time I talk about the Motor City Machine Guns. I thought anyway, initially, it's going to be hard for them to get over because it's like debuting Kraftwerk to a modern dance crowd.
Yeah.
Where everything's like,
It's been done.
there's more BPMs, it's louder. Like, Kraftwerk's better for me, but you know what I mean? Like, people, it just doesn't really work on those terms.
Your favorite DJs.
Yes, you know what I mean? It's just like, wrestling's stylistic overlap and, in my opinion, slow death. It's just not doing that act of all acts any favors whatsoever. On that basis, like, the crowd were like polite.
Yeah.
Which they weren't really last week, so that's a start. And I thought, on the basis of this match, which was good, not great. What do you think was good, not great, or did you?
I was more impressed with it as a story match. Honestly, I thought this was a really impressive presentation.
Yeah,
it was an extension of Corey Graves trying to get these guys over as the innovators.
Yes,
and then and I remember, so like we were both kind of picking up ECW.
It was like they try to do some sophisticated storytelling here.
That's it, right? So like we picked up. I'm going to use this example, right? We picked up ECW at the same time, and neither of us back in the 90s gave a toss about Tommy Dreamer, right? But Joey Styles would tell us this guy's the innovator of violence, and then the Sandman would be his mate, and other wrestlers would be like, you know what?
He's cool, mate.
Yeah. And they were like, well, I'll help Tommy. I'll help Tommy Dreamer fight Raven, or I'll help Tommy Dreamer do this, whatever. I'll help Tommy beat up Just Incredible. Because this was a guy back in Philadelphia in a pair of wrestling tights, suspenders, I couldn't get over it, but I took a shot to the head and I bled and I paid the price and I took a cane to the back.
And I'll do it again.
And so we were kind of informed by that presentation that Tommy Dreamer was worth our time, even if we don't love him. He's a reason for so much of this. And I think this match was a far more impressive presentation, on screen at least, in terms of how Gargano was almost like wrestling in reverence to them, and Ciampa was a bit like, oh. And it was like helping create that divide between DIY, and that seems like that's going to go somewhere between the two of them. And again, I wasn't to know what was to come, so I was thinking better. Good, better than last week, good, but I was just more impressed with that. They used the physical aspect of telling the story rather than 100 moves, because between them, just not really got that anymore.
Under a different regime, they would have really, really laid on thick of we were you before you were you. And they would have said that over and over again in promos and video packages. Like you know, Edge's grit stuff.
Yeah.
Like laying it on thick. So I did enjoy how they actually did a wrestling match and told a wrestling story through the wrestling. It doesn't really happen that often.
They were wrestling like them, weren't they? And if they went any faster, well, they can't. They're getting older. You know, that's the point. But Sidge, the number one contenders. That's not the end of the show, mate. I was wrong. It wasn't main event time, because the Bloodline come out. And we cut to commercial, but we come back and Solo Sikoa is demanding acknowledgement from the Barclays Center. They're raining down boos on him. He's then getting OTC chants, which visibly gets on his nerves, and he kind of introduces the Bloodline to the Motor City Machine Guns now as the new number one contenders, and the Motor City Machine Guns, who obviously we've heard have been getting to know everybody, getting to meet the Bloodline for the very first time. I kind of love Solo Sikoa for the second show in a row here. Well done, you're making a great impact around here. He laughs to himself. He's quite pleased with that one.
Yeah.
And
it's good. Make him Jimmy and not Roman.
Yeah. But he says, great for you, but you are absolutely not ready for the Bloodline. You're not ready for these guys.
How's it such a fix? To your main event angle, or be a clown. And it works with them.
Be closer to who you are than what you're trying to be. People buy you as this fraud. Time to be one. Yeah. Basically. So again, he solo popped me here because Saban doesn't like that, and he says, don't tell us we're not ready. We're ready, any place, anytime. And Solo goes any place, anytime. Just laughs to himself, thinks he's in no trouble whatsoever. So if you want it, we're more than happy to go right now. SmackDown GM is a fair man, and he says, no, we're not going to do this tonight. I know your
What's
game.
His name?
I cannot remember. Never can. He says, I know what you like, Solo, and I know what you're trying to do, and we're not going to do this. But Alex Shelley interjects and says, no, we go back a long way, and these people know that we are more than capable. We waited too long to get here. We're not going to wait any longer. You want to go right now? We'll go right now. So the match is made. It's going to be the tag team titles right now, the Bloodline versus the Motor City Machine Guns. We come, the two of them face off. They get immediately into it, and then we come back from a break after some Motor City Machine Gun dives. There's just huge OTC chants because you've got Solo and Jacob Fatu kind of patrolling the ringside area. Motor City Machine Guns are selling tired basically, and the Guerrillas of Destiny go up for the double Uso splash effectively on the two of them. Shelley is able to roll into the little sweet spot, so both miss. Both are down on the floor selling. Shelley's knackered. Saban's Sabin's like not even available for the tag. Solo Sikoa gets up on the apron and he's saying, come on guys, get back up, this should be easy, get up. And then his leg is pulled down by somebody in a hoodie. And he throws him into the post, and it is revealed to be Jimmy Uso. He's back from last week's attack. The crowd goes absolutely ape for that. But then he turns around, and Jacob Fatu is ringside. He's not having any of that, so he decks Jimmy Uso. The two of them have seemingly got Jimmy Uso beat. They're going to like put him through the table or something like that. And then Roman Reigns, dramatic music hits. The crowd goes absolutely nuts for that. Like he appears on the stage, thankfully, a lot earlier this time because that music was too long for the heels to all stand around and wait. Roman immediately sort of like heads toward the ring. So Jacob Fatu goes to cut him off. No, bang, he takes a Superman punch. The four of them, Jimmy's recovered now, so the four of them brawl into the back. So we're finally seemingly got like a level playing field in the ring, and it looks like the Motor City Machine Guns might get it done. Chris Sabin's got the advantage on, so Tama Tonga's still on the outside, and Chris Sabin's got the advantage on Tonga Loa. He throws Tonga Loa into the corner, and he goes to run at him with a charge, but Tonga pulls the referee in front of the way, so Sabin hits the ref. The ref has been bumped. Tama gets back in, and he kind of spies his opportunity. It's like, Tonga, get the chairs, get the chairs. So the Guerrillas of Destiny go to get the chairs, but before they can attack, somebody else with a hoodie and a mask appears.
Love their hoodies, don't they?
The crowd are going, yeet, they know it is. Even the commentators are saying, I think we know who this is. And the hooded masked figure, who is that masked man?
It's Jey Uso.
It's Jey Uso, because he's taken them out with super kicks and spears. He pulls the hood and the mask back, and it's Jey friggin' Uso. Yeet. And all of a sudden, sort of like the Tongans are down, the guns are coming back into it. Crucial this, I thought, a nice detail. Jey Uso pulls the referee back into action, but the guns have got to get themselves back into the match. They do so. They go for the cover on the Guerrillas of Destiny. 1, 2, 3. The Motor City Machine Guns are the friggin' brand new tag team champion. Huge pep in Brooklyn for that. And those New Yorkers, they're the hardest fans to please, Sidgy. But they do. They go nuts for the guns. Everything seems like, oh my God, what an incredible night. What a crazy night. What a perfect way for this to go off the air. But it doesn't end there, Sidge, because the guns go to leave. That finds Jay kind of in the ring by himself, surveying the scene, surveying this crazy night of madcap WWE all-action drama. And then Jimmy, obviously fresh from the brawl, is walking back down to the ring. He sort of takes his time. He looks at Jay in the ring. The two of them are there stood. What are they going to do? And then, as laid out beautifully by your good self on the preview, we'll talk about meeting in the middle. They meet in the middle with a brotherly hug. The crowd goes, his baby's getting thrown up in the air. It's absolutely wild. I'm going like this at this
point. I know you are.
It's unbelievable scenes. And then just when you think the show's going to go off the air, what, fourth ending? Surely not. You better believe it, pal, because Roman Reigns returns to the sort of entranceway, and he looks upon the ring as the brothers unite. He doesn't give anything away with that face. Is he happy? Is he sad? Is he angry? Who knows? We're going to have to wait till next week, and you better believe you're going to join us right there. What an ending.
I will say one thing, right? One bit of criticism that I would like to get out of the way.
Okay.
I would like to get out of the way. I don't even think it's that much of a criticism.
Okay.
This Bloodline reunion stuff seems pretty rushed.
I agree.
Yeah.
A bit of a speed run. Each step.
Yeah, it's a bit rushed, a bit of a speed run. You could consider that a bad thing insofar as maybe they could tease it out a little bit more, make people want it, and then execute. But at the same time, or in the same breath, they must have a plan. They must have a weird and wild plan for the next, for the remainder of 2024, because if you had no plans and nothing else but this one sort of a cash cow, you would take a long old time to milk it. Do you know what I mean?
Totally,
it's weird that they're rushing it.
You could have Jay and Roman be on the same side in War Games and not yet even be on the same page.
Yeah.
You could have had Jay not made up with anybody and just get Sammy to be like, I've come back. You only help for one night. You don't need to talk to him. Just help us 4 and 4. They could have done it that way, and they've not. They've actually allowed Jay and Jimmy to...
For Jimmy, because Jimmy was the first one to...
Yeah. He called the play.
Yeah. But Jimmy was the first one to think that Sammy was okay as well.
Yeah.
So they could,
where the bond started,
You could all dwell on that. So that's one criticism, but it's not even... If they were dragging it on and on, I'd be more annoyed. They must have a plan.
Yeah.
Here's what I thought I was going to hate and did for a little bit before I snapped out of it. I did think, and yes, I understand what's going on across Raw and SmackDown, where this Bloodline civil war is so all-consuming that it's like a black hole into which everything else is sucked.
Yeah.
Sucked off, if you're Braun Breaker.
Indeed. Sucking off families.
Which just indicates that, my God, it's chaos, eventful. Everything just gets sort of drawn into it, which makes it feel absolutely massive, where if these forces collide, literally everything changes and crumbles underfoot of this thing. And initially I was like, oh, well, it makes them look like they didn't really win the titles. But one, there was a second match. They can say that.
Yep.
The Bloodline, the new Bloodline can say, you didn't win. We lost. They interfered. We want a rematch. Then they can come back, they pronoun boy, being Motor City Machine Guns. It was our second match of the night.
Who got, by the way, loads of pyro, loads of Jey Uso stood in the ring was doing so to their music. This wasn't a kind of TNA appropriately for the Guns. Hello, hey, yo, this was,
Don't invoke TNA.
Yeah.
Look at the way Chris Jericho won the Ring of Honor title.
Yeah.
Perfect. 3 seconds later, you can't dwell on the heat. You can't feel that seethe. You can't let it. You just want to shake it, but you can't because Chris Jericho with his face is rubbing your face in it. No, that didn't happen. It was 3 seconds, and here's issue. Your next match, and it's going to be great. This was like, this is the business. Yeah. This is all measured out perfectly. They're kicking AEW's ass. I still subjectively would just prefer a better AEW to this WWE.
Yeah,
they're kicking their ass in terms of booking, in terms of making things feel significant. This is just a majestic bit of narrative overlap. You can't show how good the Motor City Machine Guns are really, because you've shown, every other tag team's just shown them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In this instance, you kind of just have to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, this is how good they are. This is how influential they are. This is how special they are. They're going to win the belts immediately. They're going to they're going to give the Motor City Machine Guns, and I'm not necessarily saying it's this big thank you to the Motor City Machine Guns. As we've talked before, this might have been the Lucha Bros creative.
Yeah.
But you play the hand you dealt.
Triple H did his tweet, where he was like, it's the third match in WWE, but this is a long time coming. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And it can be both those things.
It can be both those things. You play the hand that you dealt, and they've played this hand absolutely superbly. They've basically all the credibility and legitimacy that the Motor City Machine Guns actually have across the wider world of wrestling, and wrestling fans like AEW and TNA and New Japan fans will know. They've basically you can't really build that up over years in front of this WWE audience, especially at their advancing ages. Mm-hmm. So I just told them.
Yep.
But they didn't. It wasn't just such a brutal take them seriously message. They've wrapped it up in so many other things. You kind of had to tell them a little bit, and they found the perfect solution to this. You've built a mega money rematch. It couldn't have been booked any better. Maybe a little bit slowing down on the old Bloodline Civil War stuff, which is it's going by at quite a clip. But to be honest, I find that refreshing. Some of it drags on for so bloody long. There was another point I wanted to make. Maybe it'll come to me later on in the Raw preview. But otherwise, they're kicking their ass.
It was, I'll just say on terms of the speed, I feel like all of this has been a bit of a speed run from what I was anticipating because of everything else they've ever done in the Bloodline. It does make me think there's a plan. It does make me think they've got stuff in place. It also makes me think Triple H wants to get all this very good creative out before old Roxy turns up and they can't even decide on a main event for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Survivor Series can be absolutely 100% what he wants. The Rumble's where it's time for him to start having fights again, isn't it? Like based on this year.
Backup plans.
Yeah, so part of me thinks it's that, and he's like, I don't want my very exciting creative that I want to deliver to be ruined by, I don't know, I don't want to have to mix things up. But for this as well, there's in terms of the matches you're making, I feel like I'm talking a lot about character traits at the moment. What is it you invest in about that person? Why is it that I'm watching these Raws and SmackDowns and nearly everyone in the roster is doing something or thinking something or saying something that makes me the Guns couldn't. You're right about telling, not showing, in terms of saying, right, they're the champions and they're the best. Buy them as the champions. But also, by giving them the belts in this particular way, you've ignoring what they can do in the ring, which is lots, but as you say, not really anymore the hot new thing. You have at very least positioned them as brave, gutsy baby faces who have got an engine who can go and wrestle twice in a night. And as you say, setting up a match with the Brothers of Destiny, you have also, for years and years and years and years and years and years, the match, the one interpromotional dream match that might never happen, but people want it, is the Usos versus the Young Bucks. You've created a narrative vehicle to say, well, it was actually the Usos versus the Guns all along, because the Usos can say down the line, Great
You
to have
owe
you
us
here.
one.
Great to have you here, but how'd you get it done?
Yeah.
You know us.
You might owe us one.
Yeah, you owe us one. And then WWE can be like, we're giving you what you always wanted, fans. It's the Usos versus the Motor City Machine. That was what everybody always said they wanted.
Yeah.
They've kind of like created their own in-universe dream match because they can't do the one that people actually want. So there's that as well. I compared it on Twitter on Saturday while I was just in a state of euphoria to that Chris Kresge buzz, where it's like, there's a reason why so many people got over in the year 2000. It's because of stuff like this.
Yeah.
You get over as many characters as possible, be economical with
And
even though there's more TV than ever now, you can still be economical and cool with it. And like the fact that we were critical of the speed running having that impact on like, is Jey so a bit dumb for like knowing that...
I'm still critical of that, don't worry.
Knowing on Raw that like, but I was sort of saying, well, no, the one thing Jey is trying not to do is keep these families warring, because what happens when the families war? They've lost 2 titles in a week. The Bloodline Civil War is taking casualties now, like eye for an eye, but it's belts.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, when the families weren't fighting, other than Roman and Solo, Jey Uso was the IC champ and the Gorillas were the tag champs, and now all that's gone because they're fighting.
It just all feels so planned out and intricate, like they're not just experimenting, they're not just trying to tell you, oh, we're good, we're still good, root for us. It just feels like, this is what I want AEW to be. I want Tony Khan to sit in a room for a week, right? And just lay out the bones for something like this, then flesh it out and just, this is what, it feels like you can watch this and just know that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's not a desperate, almost poser response to criticism. It's just so secure and planned and well thought out. Just a world that you want to go into because you believe that it's actually built for you, you know?
The only time they do response booking is when it's The Rock and he gets to swear. So that makes his bit like unpredictable in a different way.
They'll make the odd change, like they did. I don't think it was a very good attempt at representation. But, you know, they will do things with response with like the meta too. Yeah. You know? And I'm not saying that they are just completely these great geniuses who lead people down this wonderful world. But they're creating something that people are really into and people are desperate to deep dive into every week. And it's funny you make the Chris Kresge comparison. It's very, very apt and very, very true. Why wouldn't Triple H, of all people, in his best ever year, his best ever year, go, what made that so good for me? All right, okay, I'll just do a bit of that for everybody else, you know? Yeah. This SmackDown, on, you know, coming to think about it, had quite a lot that I liked. A rare thing that I liked by Triple H. It had Randy Orton being like a really authentic performer. It had Cody Rhodes and Gunther polishing the turd of a Saudi Arabia show somehow. And it had, I'm just going to say, it's some deft dovetailing booking with the tag divisions and the big main event umbrella program.
The SmackDown review. It's got all this and so much more. We will see you soon.